What's up, folks? Oh, we got a good one for you today. I'm gonna call it the Legend of John Pennisi. When Simps Attack. This is a good one. This is from man. When I came home from work, I checked my YouTube and I seen that Justice Tech Pros dropped a video. Right, unbelievable video. If you guys haven't seen it, check it out. But we're gonna cover it right now. We're gonna cover this right now. It's gonna blow your mind. Well, not really. And it's gonna yeah, Jake, common sense, you're right. You're right. We're gonna watch it right here. Please share this, get this out, share all this stuff. Get this out because people don't want to miss this. When Simps Attack, the Legend of John Pennisi. We're gonna wait for a few people to get in the room and we're gonna play this. What's up, Mocky Mock, Mickey Griggs, Dun Run a Gang, When Simps Attack, Angel, Carol, Mobland, Cuban B, what's up, bro? Elliot, Shaolin's Finest, Mikey Fleming, what's going on over there? What's up, everybody? You're going to, Grant, what's up? You're going to laugh your ass off, and this is going to show you, Callie G's, what's up? MJ, Brian. You only got through half of it? Oh, my God. Forget about it. Claudio, what's going on? Now, Simpy Pennisi, you're probably watching this, you freak. You sick bastard. Oh, boy. I didn't even know this stuff about him. I was so glad Justice Tech Pros dropped this, man. I came home from work, and this made my fucking day. It really did. It really did. We're going to go into, you're going to see John Pennisi in his own words. Well, not in his own words, him typing, saying he predicted the Twin Towers happening. Yes, he predicted the Twin Towers. You're going to see what a crazy, insane person this is. You're going to see how unfair the trial was for these guys. They wouldn't let them put any of this stuff about Pennisi in there. And if it would have swayed the jury. If they seen what a sick man this guy was, what a woman beater he was, burning their hair. He makes his girl, he had a rule with his girlfriend where you must answer me on FaceTime, even if you're driving on the highway. Boy, let's just get into this, folks. Sit back and enjoy the Sympathon. Enjoy this symphony of cuckoldery, liarry, a rattery, Pennisi, disowned by family. This guy is a paranoid maniac. You're a paranoid maniac, Simp John. And you're almost right into my trap. Keep stepping into my trap, Johnny boy. Keep doing it, freak.
I hope everybody's doing well.
Let's put this up. Blast this.
Excuse me. Today I'm going to...
this was great, man.
Covering a few items.
This is one of the most underrated podcasts around. Do me a favor, folks. Share this right now. Hit the like button and share this. We're going to have a fun time together tonight, folks. You're going to see what big simping really is. Big simping, slapping the girls. You're going to watch this. Johnny's losing his mind.
And the main theme of today is going to really focus on something I touched on a few times in different episodes in the past. Basically showing how chain of events take place as far as what you're allowed to submit and what you're not allowed to submit.
That's right, Brian.
Part of the defense team, and how you have to ask for permission from the judge to introduce items to trial that have to do with the character of, let's say, an informant that the defense may be up against. Regardless of whether it was in the paper or whether it's a known issue, you have to ask permission if the judge will let you introduce it, and then the judge will determine.
Thank you, Angela.
If they feel,
thank you,
it aids in the truth-telling ability, in the person that's affected's truth-telling ability. So if it is an informant, the judge will weigh what you're looking to introduce versus their opinion, if it has any bearing on being able to tell the truth. Now, I found that to be a bit of a gray area because it's left up to a big opinion-based decision.
Thanks, Mikey.
For me
Mickey.
personally, I think somebody's actions and what they do, it all relates to truth-telling ability.
Yep, it
Due
does.
to the fact that it paints their character. You want to know who you're dealing with, what they've done in the past, what they're capable of. And I believe it all coincides with that. It all has to do with the one big picture of measuring who's in front of you, and if you believe them or if you don't believe them. And credibility has a lot to do with that.
Credibility has everything to do with that. JTP's 100% right. We got one downvote. John, are you there, John? I know you're there. Buckle in, Johnny. It's going to be a rough night.
Type of individual has a lot to do with that.
Hey, Fratello.
What's very interesting is during trial, as I've mentioned, they will almost always talk about the defendant's past and things they've done, things that are totally irrelevant to the charges.
See, with Justice Eck-Rose, they'll always pick that up about the defense, but what about the prosecution's filthy witnesses burning hair, knocking teeth? You guys have no idea what yous are in for. This is fucking great. When I came home to this, it made my day.
But they're still able to talk about them, and the defense will fight and look to object, but 9 out of 10 times their objections are overruled, and the defendant's past is allowed to be brought up throughout the trial. In addition to their past, bear in mind, they're also allowed to bring up accusations that they may not be charged with, but they're allowed to talk about in trial. For example, in the trial of Stephen Crea, Matthew Madonna, Christopher Londonio, and Terrence Caldwell, they brought up a complete cockamamie story about how an assault was supposed to take place on an individual, and the informant John Pennisi was tasked with it, and that took up a lot of probably hours of testimony. But bear in mind, that wasn't a charged crime. The defendants weren't charged with that crime. Nobody was charged with that crime. It was just a supposed crime that allegedly took place. There was no evidence to it. The person who they claimed was the victim of it actually testified and said they didn't think it had anything to do with any of the defendants, that it was something separate. Apparently they got assaulted, and if you read the court testimony, the assault, quote unquote, and I say it that way because apparently somebody jumped out of a car and told this witness, stay away from my wife, and like swung a rubber hose at him. That was it, and jumped back in the car and took off. So I don't know what kind of assault that is. And if they're trying to say it's part of this big organized crime case, and that's the type of assault they do, they fling a rubber hose at somebody, and the person the prosecution was...
Oh, trust me, folks. This just gets better and better.
...painting as the victim didn't even go to the hospital or anything.
Oh, Pennisi can't strike me, common sense. This is not Pennisi's material. He can't strike me on this. The simp cannot strike.
Didn't even report it. Just kind of blew it off like a nonsense thing. This person was in bars and talking to women, so he just assumed it had something to do with somebody he was talking to. It sounds like it did if somebody jumps out of the car, says, stay away from my wife, and flings a rubber hose. But anyway, during the testimony, the informant John Pennisi gave this huge, elaborate story, how he was tasked with assaulting this guy. And make a long story short, over a year went by, and John Pennisi wasn't involved in it, and then he said he found out it was done. So I guess he's hinting that the rubber hose attack,
Brian. And guess what? JTP brings all the receipts. Trust me, this is gonna be a good one.
Sounds crazy. I mean, just flinging a rubber hose was part of it. But my point just is they were focused on this act, and it took up a ton of testimony, and it had nothing to do. The defendants weren't charged with this crime. It was just something they were talking about.
Just a waste time.
And what amazes me about that,
thanks for sharing this,
King Shades. Not allowed to go and talk about crimes that the informants did that has nothing to do with the charges.
Yep.
The defense.
See the hypocrisy right here and the double standard.
Defense can't go in and say, "Well, this informant was doing crimes. They were." Whatever it may be, dealing drugs while they were working for the government. It's always a problem introducing that. But they could go on for hours talking about a supposed act that didn't even take place, and when it did, it was done by some random person that said, "Stay away from my wife," and they tried pinning that on the defendants, trying to make it had something to do with the defendants. All an elaborate story to try to make the puzzle pieces fit. And you could see what they try to do with if they have.
Oh, Scott, after this, Unlimited Substance's comments might be shut off, because this is not just going to be people talking. This is going to be showing proof. So all you Pennisi fans out there, well, after this is done with, you tell me how much you like this guy or you support this creep.
They have a weak case. They'll focus on these other things. They'll focus on the past. They'll focus on these made-up crimes where, in this case, nobody was injured, nobody was hurt. It was a rubber hose. The guy jumped out of the car, swung it, jumped back in, and took off after saying, "Stay away from my wife." But yet they tried linking that to a defendant. And the informant gave a huge, long story about that. And there was, if you read the testimony, it's crazy. It went on. The defense lawyer actually had to do a chart to keep track of all the different names that were supposedly going to be involved in this assault, that when it took place was none of the people that were named during the trial testimony. They just went on and on about that. And I was a little confused while listening to this during trial because I didn't know where it was going, what it had to do with the charged crimes, and it had nothing to do with the charged crimes.
What's up, Fratello, TW?
So with that said, I just want to segue into my point. My point is, whenever the defense wants to introduce something, it has to get approved by the judge, and the defense will say, "We want to bring this up," and then the
Carol, we've just started. Listen, you have no idea what an eye opener this is gonna be. Strap in, folks. This is gonna be a symphony and a cuckoldery-thon. You're gonna witness, so we're gonna go inside the mind of the legend of John Pennisi when SIMPS attack.
Prosecution will usually put in a reply saying why they shouldn't be able to bring it up. And then the judge will rule. And a lot of times the judge rules that the defense can't bring it in. And I'll give you a little bit of example of that. This was in the United States versus
Brian.
Eugene Castell case. And this is the government basically arguing that they don't want to allow the defense to bring in 1989 homicide that John Pennisi went to jail for back in 1989. And it talks about how John Pennisi shot and killed another man in a dispute over a woman.
Always over the woman. Now, my hypothesis is, and I hope this never happens, but if Pennisi is allowed to walk the streets and date women, and we're going to see, trust me, you're going to see what I mean by this, he might one day kill a woman. That's just my guessing over here, my hypothesis. You're gonna see some great shit in this, man. We've got Texas, John Pennisi. Oh man, I don't even want to tell you. Let's just watch this. This is great. Please share this.
Both John Pennisi and the victim were dating. It says CW2. At this time, CW2 was John Pennisi. This is a public docket. You can see the case number.
So remember, CW2 is Simpisi, is Johnny Simp. Simple John. Simple John is CW2. And watch how he treats these women. Watch what he does to the women.
Up top in the docket number. So this is public information if anybody wanted to pull it. This was filed by the government.
Sad but true, Carol. Yes.
Submitted to the judge.
What's up, Smoking Tommy?
Prior to the Castell trial, where they were basically asking the judge not to allow the defense to talk about this, to talk about the 1989 homicide. And also they didn't want to bring up where, if you notice on this line, CW2 has admitted to the government that during his testimony in the 1990 trial, he deliberately made false statements in an effort to shield himself and his co-defendant from liability.
So you got CW2, John Pennisi, admitting that he lied to the courts, that he lied to the fucking courts. Jesus, and this wasn't allowed in.
So basically he perjured himself,
Perjury.
which is a big point that you want to make. during a trial, you want to show if an informant or a person is prone to lying or prone to changing the story. And this was, they wanted to stop the defense from bringing that up, how he previously lied on his prior trial. So this is the letter they submitted where they're making the argument. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's boring, but for the listeners, it's just boring when somebody reads the whole thing. But
it's not boring.
To summarize, the government's saying it should have no bearing on his truth-telling ability and should not be permitted into court. They raised 2 points. That's one. The other one that they don't want to allow in is allegations that John Pennisi committed domestic violence. It should be excluded.
Why should that be excluded? It goes to his character of what kind of man he is. And those women on the jury would be like, all right, this guy's a vicious woman beater. It should be let in.
And they elaborate on that. They say the defendant has also informed the government that he intends to cross-examine. The defense attorney for Eugene Castell was...
Bulldogs and Diamonds. What's up? You're right, Bulldogs and Diamonds. Wow, the justice system is so screwed up. It really is, Bulldog. I love your dog.
Edward McMahon. And I just want to make sure I have that correct. I'm sorry, Edward McMahon. I'm thinking of the freaking host.
The host, Ed McMahon. Here's Johnny.
McMahon, not Edward.
Here's Johnny Simpy. Simpy John. Simple John the Simp. Oh, John, we've got all the receipts in here for you, pal. You sick puppy. He said he had a dream that a woman was sleeping with other people, and the reason he knows it's true because he knew that 9/11 was going to happen. Why didn't you call the CIA, John? Homeland Security. Simp.
Edward. Sorry, I apologize.
Simp.
For that. Gerald McMahon.
Simple John.
The defense, I'm going to show you the defense's reply to this. But this is the government basically saying...
Someone said, where's Justice Tech Pros? I don't know. I seen this today. I seen him put this up when I got home. I don't know, man. I got to leave a comment on his channel or something. But, man, this was well done. And he just he brings receipts. Tech Pros brings fucking receipts, man.
The defendant has also informed the government. And when they say the defendant, they're talking about the attorney. The attorney has informed the government, so in this case it's Gerald McMahon, has informed the government that he intends to cross-examine CW2, who's John Pennisi, that he dated one of the women in question at the same time of a defendant. So the defendant in the case, John Pennisi, the defense team was trying to explain that the defendant was dating the same woman at one time as John Pennisi.
Wow, really? So why did you lie, John? Did you lie just because somebody took your girlfriend or the girl didn't want to date you no more? It's always revenge with women. Everything around Simpnisi is with women, and we're going to prove that in a little bit, folks. We got some receipts we're going to show you. Strap in, Simp.
They're just saying that although it's factually absurd to suggest that John Pennisi began cooperating against the mafia and pled guilty to crimes carrying a life sentence in order to testify against someone who slept with an ex-girlfriend. So the government's trying to say he's not testifying to get back at anybody. That's absurd. What I found interesting is they say
that's absurd. Yeah, okay.
He pled guilty to crimes carrying a life sentence. Okay, that sounds great. Did he get a life sentence? No, he got time served. There was no time. Didn't serve a day. So he was facing a life sentence apparently due to the crimes, but he didn't get any time because of
he's a rat.
His cooperation. So they throw that in there to try to make it look as if the informant is facing time and he still gave information even though he's facing a life sentence.
Exactly.
I've spoken about this. Come on. When does that ever happen? Once they get that 5K1 letter, which is a letter that gives rave reviews about the informant, they're not going to do a life sentence. And I've even said I'd like to see the statistics on that of how many of these informants, percentage-wise, wound up serving big time after they cooperated and were successful in the case. It's a very low percentage. I'm very confident saying that.
Tony, how tall? I don't know how tall Pennisi is, but it doesn't matter how tall he is. He's an insane man, and we're gonna watch this.
So they want to prevent two things during this trial. They wanted to prevent the past of John Pennisi, where he committed a homicide.
And remember, that homicide was what? Some guy dated a girl that Pennisi dated or liked, and Pennisi decided to take this young man's life. Disgusting. Just go. There's a million fish in the sea, simp. Why can't you just go find another girl? Women should stay away from in my opinion, women should stay away from John Pennisi. He's dangerous. He's a psycho. He's a paranoid simp freak. This man is not called the Ghostbusters, exactly. He's a sick man.
and they didn't want the claims of domestic abuse coming in either.
Yep, they didn't
Again,
want
they're
it.
trying to say it has nothing to do with truth-telling ability. Me, I disagree. I think it has to do with character, which all revolves around truth-telling ability of somebody. When you trust somebody, you want to know what they're all about, right? That's how I feel.
Yeah.
So here's Attorney Gerald McMahon's
Night,
response,
Yanks.
and he elaborates a little bit. And so now these two responses, so you understand how it works. These two filings go towards the judge, and then the judge decides whether he or she is gonna allow the testimony in or not allow it in. And from what I understand here, what took place, they did not allow.
Jackie's asking who is talking. This channel, YouTube channel called Justice Tech Pros. If you look in my description, I got his channel right in there in the description down bottom. So that's the channel. If you want to go listen to it without me talking or nothing.
Now the domestic violence cross-examination to take place, so that wasn't allowed. And I'm going to bring up a section of the transcript, whereas the defense attorney and the prosecution were talking to the judge on that issue in a little more depth before the judge decided not to allow it in. So here's Gerald McMahon's response, and he's talking about the evidence about the manslaughter, and he lays out that the facts underlying Pennisi's 1990 manslaughter conviction demonstrate a compelling relevance to this case. In 1989, Pennisi shot and killed a young man who made the mistake of dating Pennisi's girlfriend. At his murder trial, Pennisi asserted that he acted in self-defense and testified approximately 10 times at trial that his romantic rival pulled out a gun before Pennisi shot him in the heart.
Jesus.
The government now concedes that this deceased romantic rival not only did not pull out a gun, but he did not even have a gun.
He didn't even have a gun. See how Pennisi lies? He had a gun. I was just defending myself. I'm just a little simpy John. I'm just a simple John. I'm just a simple man.
So that goes against what Pennisi claimed. Pennisi claimed the guy had a gun. The government conceded the guy did not have a gun.
The guy, he was a young kid, too. These are 19-year-old kids. He went and took this fucking kid's life over a girl. Dude, there's a million fish in the sea. This man, I'm telling you, this is just my hypothesis, folks. I believe if they keep this man on the streets, he will hurt a woman one day. Yes, you will, Simple John.
The gun found at the crime scene by the police was actually the gun carried by his co-defendant. So the gun they found was carried by Pennisi's co-defendant, and Pennisi threw the murder weapon off the Verrazano Bridge. So Gerald McMahon is explaining, I'll read this passage because he's saying those facts demonstrating Pennisi's insane jealousy are particularly relevant in this case because Pennisi believes that defendant Castell was secretly having an affair with Pennisi's girlfriend. Pennisi's.
Now, is that true? Who knows? John thinks everybody's having an affair with his girlfriends. He doesn't trust women at all. He hates women.
Belief was so strong that he punched, and they give her initials, teeth out. The government.
See what he just said? Look, we're not going to say the girl's name. I don't even know her name. He punched DM's teeth out. Who the fuck punches a girl's teeth out, man?
Wants to keep that assault from the jury as a mere incident of domestic violence.
The jury should have seen this. It's a big fucking deal for the jury to know if this guy's capable of knocking women's teeth out and burning their hair.
Taken together, however, they demonstrate that Pennisi will go to great lengths, such as murder and falsely accusing a rival to monopolize his love interest.
Yep.
And it goes on to cite cases to support the argument. That's a big part of a submission. You want to cite cases. I don't know. To me, I think that is something that is relevant for the jury to hear. The jury should know who's in front of them. I know the government likes to clean up a lot of these witnesses and put their best foot forward and make them seem as ideal citizens. But the same way, again, not to harp on it, but it's a strong point, so I have to make it. The same way, if you read trial testimony in a lot of cases, they go into the past on all of the defendants, things they've already served time for, things they've already paid the debts to society.
Right, GW.
So why is it one-sided? Shouldn't it then apply? Shouldn't the same rule then apply for the informants? The informants are being relied upon to tell the truth, and people's lives are in their hands based on whether or not the jury believes them. So to keep this stuff shielded,
to keep this shielded is a travesty of justice. If this was a fair case and they let the defense put all this stuff up, there's no way these juries were convicting these guys.
I have a hard time understanding.
They shouldn't have been convicting them anyways because it's all on hearsay from a bunch of liars. There's no physical evidence. There's nothing. This is hearsay from liars.
Judge's rationale with that, other than it just not being fair. I try to look at things from different perspectives, try to understand their train of thought. And with this, I can't. It would make more sense to me if they said nobody's past is allowed in. You can't bring in the defendants and you can't bring in the informants. Then okay, at least that makes a little sense.
Seems like it's a little one-sided, doesn't it, folks?
It across the board with the same ruling. But to pick and choose, that shifts the scales of balance.
Yeah.
That knocks things out of whack, and it changes getting a fair trial. And Gerald McMahon goes on to talk about Pennisi's mental condition. The government discloses that Pennisi is taking the antidepressant Wellbutrin. Medical journals indicate that one side effect of Wellbutrin is confusion. Defendants should therefore be allowed limited questioning as to
This guy's on all kinds of psychotic meds. He's a paranoid schizo simp. This is amazing. Why wasn't this let in? Wow, Pennisi, when you see this, you're going to spiral. Make your move, simp.
Pennisi's clarity.
Because we got more to come, simp.
Of mind. From what I've read, I did not see that being asked during trial. So it appears that the judge ruled that wasn't allowed in.
Jesus.
The allegations of knocking the woman's teeth out wasn't allowed in.
Jesus.
And they go on a little bit more about that.
Do you know how severe that is? Knocking a woman's teeth out? Come on, man. I don't know how anybody can watch Unlimited Substance or The Sit Down. My name is John Simp Pennisi. Wait a minute. My girlfriend's cheating on me! Oh, my God.
I'm going to show you a transcript from, this is a section of the transcript. This is on the court testimony. This is prior to the trial, to the jurors coming out. This is the court. I believe this is prior to trial. I'm not sure if this took place. I didn't see the date on it. I have to look. This could have took a lot of times. What happens is before they bring the jury in, the court, the prosecution, and the defense will have little arguments of what they want to have that day, what they want to ask that day. And then the court.
Someone says John's going to be a life coach someday. Oh, my God.
Decide right then and there if you're going to allow it. So I believe this may have happened while the jury was out of the room before they came in. This was an argument taking place. And you have the court, they're asking the prosecution, who is this Mr. Scott, and they're asking him, what is his fear that Mr. McMahon is going to do? What's his fear? What's he concerned about? And Mr. Scott goes on to say he's going to accuse the witness quite theatrically of assaulting this woman in the second row. So the woman who was assaulted
Wow.
apparently was at this trial. Who he's brought here.
Wow, the woman was at the trial. So this woman wanted revenge on this fucking guy for torturing her, burning hair, knocking her teeth out.
Here to make as much of a show as possible. But regardless of her presence, it simply doesn't bear on credibility. Again, totally disagree. If you're accused of knocking a woman's teeth out and the woman's there in court,
Yep.
I believe that has a strong bearing on credibility.
Sure does.
I couldn't disagree.
Very strong bearing on credibility. Like the woman, like we want to know if this guy is telling the truth or not. And we got the woman sitting in the second row who had her teeth knocked the fuck out. Come on, shame on that judge.
Agree more with that. I know they use that, and I understand the prosecution's point of view. They're trying to win the case. They don't want certain things come in. I understand that. But for the judge, I mean, the prosecutor's doing their job. They're trying.
Yeah, I get that too, the prosecutor's job, but the judge is going to be fair, man. You can't be just, obviously the judge and the prosecutors are close friends, obviously, in most of these cases, and they go along, but it's just not fair. It's bullshit.
As much out as they can that could hurt their case. But a fair judge should look at this.
Hold on a minute. John Martin, he was doing her a favor. I don't block people. I let people troll, but you know what? You're getting blocked. Because don't be a fucking Ricky Yoon like that coming in. No woman deserves to have her teeth knocked out from this filthy simp. So go watch Unlimited Substance. Get out of here. If he comes in, gas this guy every time he comes in.
And say it absolutely has to do with credibility. And the court says, without interjecting epithets, what kind of question is he going to ask? And then the prosecutor goes on to say, I assume he's going to ask, did you not assault the woman who you believe the defendant was dating? Did you not hurt her badly? Did you not knock her teeth out? These were things that I've learned from proffers by defense counsel, Your Honor. And the court goes on to say, he's asking the attorney now, are these the expectations real? Basically, what the prosecutor asking, is that what you're going to do? And Mr. McMahon says, well, Judge, I think it's a little bit overstated. The court asks in what aspects? And Mr. McMahon says, I can limit the questioning. So instead of saying, did you knock her teeth out, which he actually did, did you assault her by punching her in the face without getting into the teeth? So the defense attorney is just trying to structure it in a way where he could bring it out.
Yeah.
Because he feels, as do I, and as I believe 90% of the public would feel, it is important for the jury to understand what.
Mr. Diabolical, what's the topic today? John Pennisi. These are receipts and transcripts and stuff like that. Just watch.
Dealing with the capabilities.
And do me a favor, hit that like button and share this. Because anybody who you may, even if you're if you do like John Pennisi's show, The Sit Down and Limited Substance, if you can agree with him knocking a woman's teeth out, and this is true, I'm not making this shit up, and nobody's making this shit up. It's in court transcripts, okay? Then you're pro woman beater. You're a disgraziato. You're a fucking punk.
Of the person in front of them. So this is,
and either you probably hate your mother, or you just hate women because women don't date you, or they cheated on you. Something stupid. I don't know.
Process of what goes on, how you got to try to get these things in. And unfortunately, more often times.
Mickey Cheeks, I'm surprised you're not covering the rat. No, this is Mob Rats Exposed, man. I don't know that guy. I don't cover gang rats or shit like that, bro.
Than not, the judge won't allow him in. And I could tell when I read the trial transcript, the judge didn't allow this in because he did not elaborate on it. He didn't bring up about the teeth. So I assume.
So this wasn't brought into trial. This should have been. This goes to his credibility, because if a man's willing to do that to a woman, and over a woman, and in this case, he's saying one of the defendants was dating an ex-girlfriend. So he's lying to get revenge on these guys. He's lying to get revenge on them because they're dating a girl he used to date. Everything with women with Pennisi is violence, psychoticness, paranoia. And we're going to show you, we got some interesting receipts you might want to watch. You might want to keep your eye on this. Watch.
Had to play with the words a little bit.
Please share this.
But it appears that jury was not allowed to get that information to use that information to help them determine if John Pennisi was a credible witness.
Jesus
and the
Christ.
same thing happened on the case with Stephen Crea and Matthew Madonna, Terrence Caldwell, and Christopher Londonio. This was also asked to be introduced, and I'm going to show you that. And again, it was not allowed. I'm going to show you the request that was put in. Now, this is during the United States versus Londonio,
This
Crea,
is good.
Caldwell, and Madonna case. The defense team, we put in an omnibus motion, which is basically a giant motion with all different issues that you want to address. Sometimes they call it omnibus motion. It allows you just to bring up several areas that you want the court to rule on and advise on prior to trial. And you can include a bunch of different items within that motion. And one of this,
if you guys can't see the top, says John Pennisi's paranoid and delusional behavior, and JTP is going to read this
section of the motion. This was the defense team for Stephen Crea asking the court to allow the cross-examination of John Pennisi as it relates to his domestic abuse. And it says the sectional heading is item C, John Pennisi's paranoia and delusional behavior. The court should also deny the government's request to restrict the defense's cross-examination of Pennisi's engagement in domestic abuse. So the court had prior submitted, as they did with the Castell case, they prior submitted a letter to the judge, basically asking the judge, hey, judge, don't allow this. Don't allow them to ask Pennisi about him beating his girlfriend.
Yeah, don't ask him about beating his girlfriend. That's why I labeled this The Legend of John Pennisi When Simps Attack.
Was the defense's response to try to convince the judge that it is necessary. Unfortunately, the judge knocked this down and it wasn't allowed to be introduced. But this was the argument. I want the audience to see how these arguments are made and how they play out.
Sorry about your parents, Steve.
And the defense's point of view as to why it's important. And in this submission, it says the court should also, there's a misspelling error there. I see it says the could, but it should say the court should also deny the government's request to restrict the defense's cross-examination of Pennisi's engagement in domestic abuse, because that line of examination helps establish Pennisi's history of paranoia and delusional behavior during the time of the events that he expected to testify about. And then
exactly, and you got a point. It's paranoid delusional behavior, because what do paranoid people do? They make shit up. They make lies up. That's what paranoid psychotic simps do. They make shit up. So this should have been allowed in, fucking hands down. Forget about it.
Again, it's a citation. You always want to use court citations to support your argument. That is a lot of bearing on how a judge will rule. They want to see prior rulings, and that kind of helps guide them as to what's the right way and what's the wrong way to rule, I guess. But what you will see what happens, oftentimes the defense will cite cases to support their argument, and the prosecution would cite cases to support their argument. So then it's the matter of the judge to read all the arguments, read the citations, and decide where they lay. And it goes on, he says, in this regard, the defense has a good faith basis to question Pennisi about recent instances in which he suffered extreme paranoia and delusional behavior. For example,
listen to this.
Let me bring up the other part of that.
Listen to this.
The defense investigation has unearthed that Pennisi's paranoia was so extreme that he would require his recent former girlfriend to answer him on FaceTime, even if she was traveling on a highway or otherwise unable to use her phone at the moment.
Wow.
At that moment, to ensure that another man was not present with her. The fact that Pennisi's paranoia and delusional behavior has continued decades after the jealousy-stricken murder he committed in 1989, to include current instances when he burned his former girlfriend's hair and knocked her teeth out with his fist.
Burned her hair, knocked her teeth out. Oh my God. And imagine someone so paranoid that they want your girlfriend to call you when she's on the highway. And remember John Pennisi's own podcast, out of his own words, he said to his girlfriend, she said, "Can I come to the wake with you?" And he said this, "No, you can't come to the wake with me because there's other guys there. There's guys at the wake." Who cares if there's guys at the wake? If you don't trust your girlfriend enough to bring her to a wake, the girl's not going to start hitting on people at a wake. This just go, and you can. This was on his own. I don't know if they're down or not, but it's on my channel, so it's amazing. Jesus.
Establishes a serious issue for the jury to consider when evaluating his ability to perceive surrounding events and his credibility generally. Got a little tongue-tied there. Again, I think it's laid out right here. It's about evaluating his credibility. A jury would need to understand these things and then leave it up to the jury. The defense will argue, the prosecution would argue, and then leave it up to the jury to decide what they believe or don't. But to not even let it in, I don't see the logic in that, other than you don't want to give the defendants a fair trial because you're allowing things in about their history. You're trying to paint their credibility. But once it's asked to be done for the informants or the opposition
not fair
to the defendant, you don't get any leeway with that.
You don't get no leeway. It's not fair. It seem like the judge in them seem like they just want the prosecution to win on this so they can all say they put away evil mob guys, which it's not illegal. We're not saying these guys are choir boys. It's not illegal to be in a secret society, but to blame these guys for a crime they didn't do is just bullshit and not fair, especially when it's all on the testimony of Rat Squaw and Paranoid Simp fucking when Simps attacked John Pennisi. So, like, Italian Inquisition, totally. And Simpisi, oh my God, what a bad guy. And yeah, Bandit Dane, you did have him pegged. I remember you talking, always coming in here hating on Pennisi, even when you didn't like me.
You're not allowed to ask about it. You're not allowed to bring it up. They want the jury to only see the positive aspects of the informant. And I just don't understand how that's a fair system. We know it's not. I'm asking a rhetorical question, but I'm highlighting these things just to make the public aware of what goes on. I could tell by reading comments and chats and in forums, people really don't know what goes on. They think, oh, well, that's an automatic. That has to be allowed in the court. No, it doesn't. There's a whole process for it. You may really have the goods on somebody and think, oh, this is a slam dunk. We're going to annihilate this witness or this informant. But then the judge doesn't let the items in.
Yeah, the judge doesn't let the items in. So you think, oh, shit, once people see this, they're going to totally, understand and know this guy's a fucking nut. And then it's not let in. Yeah, that guy, Tom, dumped Pennisi, though. They broke up. So that was good. At least that guy gets away from him. I don't trust none of these people.
And now you're behind the eight ball where you were in a power position. Now you lost all your cards.
Yep, you lost all your cards. It's bullshit.
Stripped you of your cards because they're not allowing it in. One of your main arguments, they're not allowing you in. They're not allowing you to highlight to the jury the type of individual that the jury needs to rely on for credibility.
Yes, who they got to rely on for credibility and believe their stories. Well, they need to know about their character and painting their character and showing who they are, or the deeds they've done in life. Things that they've done, like knocking women's teeth out, burning their hair, having paranoid delusions, having a dream that the Twin Towers came down the night before they came down. My nickname for Pennisi, John the Simp, Simple John. I got a few of them for the Titus. I usually call him the Simp or Simple John. I like Simple John because he's so simple, but evil.
Truth-telling ability. And when you can't expose character, they're really handcuffing you. They're handcuffing the defense. And then it goes on to say that Pennisi had engaged in delusional, psychotic, and felonious behavior, which happened to occur in relation to his violent outburst against women, does not undermine the legitimacy of the defense's right to impeach him on this subject.
Yep.
Again, it's a strong argument. It's given a strong argument of how not letting that in.
And guys in the chat, don't. I seen somebody say something about the dude's wife. Don't mention anybody's wives and nothing in here like that. You know, even though I agree they shouldn't have brought her on there. Don't say nothing bad about people's wives and nothing. And I don't like the guy Tom. Or I hate Pennisi, but I don't like the guy Tom. The guy Tom said he did take the strike away from my channel. I will say this. My channel would probably be down right now if he didn't take that strike back, because I got another one. Or it might have not went down, but he did take the strike back. But the simple fact that he looked me up, well, that's what he says he did. And I don't care if you guys know who I am. Drop it. Go ahead. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I never hurt no women and nothing like that. So I don't give a fuck if you fucking drop who I am. And it's kind of funny. The Pennisi, the wit sec boy, and all these guys look you up when they got the feds behind them. It's fucking bullshit.
It's stripping the defense of impeaching him.
But still, don't talk about nobody's wives. I have certain rules I don't break on YouTube, or certain things I don't fucking do. No matter what people do against me, I still won't do that. You know what I mean? I don't have to. I can put John Pennisi up here and destroy him without. I would never make fun of his children or stuff like that. I don't have to do that. They do it themselves, and this is just all their shit.
Where it relates to that topic.
No, BK Sal, yes. If I agree with you, Sal, people shouldn't bring their wives on YouTube in this genre, in this community. But even if they do, they shouldn't be attacked and filthy, dirty things be said about them. I agree with you. People shouldn't do that. They should be smart enough in this genre how evil and sick it is. Well, especially when you're working with someone like Pennisi, when you were working with him. There are sick people that will, take pictures and put them up and do scumbag things. And if people do that, it's weak trolling. It's disgusting. You don't need to do degenerate shit like that. But I agree with you. They shouldn't put them on there. But if they do, they shouldn't be attacked. That's for sure. Because that's what Pennisi does. He attacks women and lies.
You have to drop that point. The judge don't allow that in. Now you can't use that. You can't bring that out. And you can't talk about it to the jury. Moreover, if the government's failed to report Pennisi's felonious behavior, and then he gives an example, acts of domestic abuse and violence, to local and state authorities for prosecution, that would constitute a benefit that Pennisi received as part of his cooperation, which the defense is always entitled to expose. And then he quotes a case supporting that argument. So right there's a great point. I thought that was a fantastic point at the time, and I think it's a.
No, that wasn't me in that video, Steve. If you've seen me, I'm so ugly. Like I will admit it, I'm probably one of the most ugliest peoples in my county in South Dakota, Little Italy. Wow, the dogs are going nuts.
Fantastic point. Now, if the government was aware of John Pennisi hitting a woman, knocking her teeth out, behavior towards women, and they didn't report it to the local and state authorities, that's another benefit that this informant received.
Yes. Do you know what he means by that? It's another benefit that they receive. Now the city doesn't know about it. So God forbid if a woman gets beat up, murdered, I'm just saying, anything, God forbid, or domestic between, let's say, a hypothesis of a future girlfriend of Pennisi and him getting into a fight, an argument, and he punches her, you know what I mean? And the cops come. Well, the cops know nothing about his former past and his new fucking name. It's sick.
He wasn't prosecuted for those crimes. It wasn't part of his agreement, wasn't part of his plea agreement, so he got off. If these allegations are true, based on everything that's being laid out, me personally, I believe it's true based on everything I've read, everything I've seen, based on the actual victim showing.
Trust me, this gets even better now. You think this is the funniest part? This gets better and better.
Up at the other trial and sitting in the second row, to me, that tells me everything I need to know. She wouldn't be there if she had something to hide, or if she was
exactly
placed to her.
Listen, if John tries to say that this one, no, nobody knows but John and the woman, right? Okay, so I don't know for a fact he did that to her, but 99% of me bets hell fucking yeah, you know. Come on. Now why would this woman lie? Okay, I bet you she has dentures. If she knocked, her teeth were knocked out. Why would this woman be in the second row of the courtroom knowing that she's most likely going to get called to testify, right? Why would she be there? Because if you get your teeth knocked out, you don't have your real teeth. Any prosecutor would be like, okay, cross-examination, you knocked your teeth out? Let me see your teeth, okay? This woman wasn't lying, okay? Not lying. Forget about it.
Woman they could have put her on the stand.
Yep, see?
And talked to her about it, and I believe she was willing to do that.
Of course she was willing to do that. She had to be, or she wouldn't have been there. This woman wanted revenge. The rest, she's probably a young girl, pretty girl, lost her fucking teeth, or a couple, I don't know how many knocked out, lost her fucking teeth, wants revenge, physically, emotionally abused, the poor girl. And then he goes on his podcast and makes lies up about her, like she was some promiscuous girl and all this stuff. Now that's just his side of the story. Like, come on, this guy's a creep.
They weren't allowed to bring it up. She never got that opportunity. But to me, that speaks volumes. That tells me all I need to know. So they could go back and forth. What's not true, what's not. I just read between the lines. I read what took place. I read the arguments. I read the defense side, the prosecution side. I read that the actual victim was in the courtroom. I use all of those items to make my personal final determination. Who knows? Somebody may read this and say, I still don't believe it. To each his own. I'm not.
Yeah, there might be people that watch this stream and say, you know what? This guy, MRE, and whatever guys reading off the tech bros, they hate these people. They don't like rats. And I love informants because they put bad guys away. Yay! Like, come on. Doesn't matter. It's not like I don't like love bad guys. This case in particular is so fucked up, dude. And look at the people, John Pennisi, Frank Pasqua, who lied about all four of these dudes. And these guys are out. It's disgusting. And I hate all rats. Don't do crime. Don't do criminal acts if you don't want to get in trouble.
I'm not here to convince anybody one way or another. I just lay out how things took place, my point of view. That's really
and you are born that way. You're born a rat. That means you're born with no integrity. Okay? You're born like that, okay? You're born weak. You're born with no integrity. Because like I said, if you don't want to go to jail, you usually don't join secret organizations and you don't do crimes. And if you do one with a pal or something, you shouldn't tell on that person to buy your own freedom. You should take responsibility for your fucking actions and not put anyone else in harm's way. You rat bastards. And you all know your honor's tainted. Your honor's destroyed. You may come on YouTube. You may try to relive this mafioso wannabe life, but it will never happen because most of us see you as the insecure freak, rat, soulless bastard that you are. Let's proceed.
All I do here. I'm not here to argue.
And God bless Justice Tech Pros for doing this. Good man. Love this guy's channel. It's right in the description. If somebody can drop it for me, I can't switch the tabs.
It. Say no, believe this. Believe what you
please. If you can drop it for me, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Want. I'm just going to show you the facts, show you how things played out. You decide what you want to believe. But at the very least, if you're open-minded and you're reasonable, you should agree with the simplistic point that if they're allowed to.
Well, Pennisi, all he was a wannabe. Even if he was what he says he was, he's still a dirty bastard. I believe he was probably a wannabe too, hang around guy, wanting to be, lying about people. But even if he was what he says he is, he still betrayed himself as an insane man. Beat up women. This guy's a psycho. This guy said the house shook for 8 hours, dude. 8 fucking hours. Do you understand that? For 8 hours, his house shook, and that's why he went to the FBI. This guy said he had a dream that the Twin Towers went down the night before, but didn't call the CIA or nothing. But well, I'll give him fairness. If you had a dream that happened, who's going to call the CIA? You probably would think it's just a dream, let's be fair, but I don't believe it. I don't believe it. And he also, we're going to watch in a little bit, that he also had a dream that a girl was sleeping with another guy. Yes, we're gonna unopen that watching Justice Tech Pros. This is
To
great.
bring up the defendant's past, they should also be allowed to bring up an informant's past. You should at least agree with that.
Yes.
You should see the relevancy.
And come on, folks, show me that you don't like these stool pigeons. You think this, or at least not this guy. If you don't like this guy, if you don't like woman beaters, hit that like button. Show us that. And show John when he watches this that there's only 7 down votes. Show John when he watches this that people really don't like what he did. And he should just crawl into a hole and stay there. Like I said, I don't wish any harm on these people at all. I never did. You can never catch me saying nothing like that. No, a few times I said, hey, if their car hit a tree, I wouldn't give a fuck. And I wouldn't give a fuck at all. I'd probably laugh. Who knows? I don't like these people. These are bad guys right here. Bad guys.
If not, then you're totally unreasonable and there's nothing I can tell you. And then it just goes on. Overall, the fact that Pennisi demonstrated extreme paranoia and delusional behavior, which also triggered his psychotic and violent felonious acts during the time of the events that he's expected to testify about, is relevant to his credibility. And again, cites a bunch of cases supporting how those type of actions are relevant to credibility. Now, unfortunately, that argument was lost. It was denied, which, again, with that case, it just seemed like that was the common theme. A lot of things just got denied. Good points were made, but the arguments never seemed to go
that's
in our
interesting
favor.
what you say
So it
there,
was denied.
Sean. Look what Sean says. Hold on, it takes a minute to pop up. That's the girl. Pennisi shits on Big John and his brother all because he was jealous they took his woman. Well, I bet you it's just the girl wanted to date them. Listen, the girl's seen what a nut Pennisi was. She must have went through either, I don't know which girl this is, but either his physical or mental abuse. I don't know which girl it is. If it's the same girl that he knocked the teeth out of, I have no idea. So, but hey. She wanted to date them. They must have not have no respect for John Pennisi if they're gonna date his ex-girl. They must have they must have had no respect for Pennisi. And that just shows you who really was he? Is he even really what he is saying to be? Oh man, what a rat.
But always approved with the prosecution. Hopefully now the way things are
playing. And it's jealousy. That's why he wants to rat on people and bash them on YouTube. So, hey, this is just pushback. There's people that think what I'm doing right here is the most, Justice Tech Pros, what he's doing there is the most horrible thing. Oh, my God, how can you do this about these people? What about the defendants' families? What about everybody else? What about people who've been told on? What about everyone else? And it's fair. It's pushback. That's all it is. Nobody's making fun of their children, moms, none of that degenerate. Nobody's talking degenerate, nothing like that. Deal with it. Take your fucking medicine. But do what you gotta fucking do, you freak.
Playing out, that theme will change based on...
Because I'd like to focus on this freak some more. Give me the reason, please. You sick man.
We'll see how that plays out.
Sick boy. Simple John.
The other thing I wanted to talk about, this is in relation to the first trial that John Pennisi was part of, where he was charged with murder. This is from November 16th, 1990. I just found this interesting. What happened was all the supporters of the individual lost his life that John Pennisi was accused of murdering and then later convicted of murdering. They wanted to wear black ribbons, black and red ribbons, if you notice. The defendants objected to the victim's family. So John Pennisi's attorney and his co-defendant's attorney objected to the victim's family and their supporters and spectators being able to wear corsages of red and black ribbons to pay homage to and support the gentleman who lost his life. So the overview is, before the
They
jury
wouldn't let
entered
him
the
do
courtroom,
that.
defendant's counsel brought to the attention of the court that approximately 35 people were wearing
And-
red and black corsages.
That's actually sad. All them people were in there to support that boy he killed, that young man that he killed. They were both young men at the time. I like what Steve, blood's outside my window. Yeah. Well, that's not exactly what happened right there. The bloods were not outside his window, and he didn't use her as a shield there. He didn't know who was outside of his window. This is what he says in the video. And well, I got the video, so I'll have to play it if I need to. But he said there was people outside, and he just picked his daughter up and just showed her in the window, just to let people know there was kids in the house. So he technically didn't use her as a human shield. I got to be fair, you know. I just got to be fair. But yeah, the Bloods, he said there was a bunch of black dudes with red bandanas, and that's why he didn't meet with his friends. These are his stories now. Then another guy, there was Bob Marley with dreadlocks, so he got scared and ran away, and he always thought there was Bloods and people laying on him. It's weird.
The defendants argued that the corsages represented an unfair attempt to impede justice and influence and/or pressure the jury and/or court, thereby denying them a fair and impartial courtroom environment and resulting trial. The court ruled that the corsages could not be worn in court. The court rejected any premise that people who wanted to communicate, protest, views, or feelings of any kind or nature for or against any person, issue, or cause had a constitutional right to do so within the confines of a public courtroom. The court ruled that nothing in U.S. court prevented a trial court and the furtherance of the administration of justice from the even-handed enforcement of reasonable rules. So basically, they're trying to make the argument that they should be allowed to wear it. It's public courtroom. They should be able to show their support. They should be allowed to wear corsages in honor of the gentleman who lost his life. Long story short,
yeah, R.I.P. to that guy.
The court prohibited the spectators and the victims' families from wearing the corsages, so they weren't allowed to wear those during that trial. A lot of the supporters wanted to wear items.
Yeah, right, support. Red. The Irish guy at the corner.
Which again, that's a case by.
The Irish guy at the corner, and we're not done yet. There's a lot more, folks, and the most interesting stuff on Pennisi, SIMPS. It's a symphony tonight. John Pennisi's paranoid. Okay, you're a sick fuck.
Case basis, because I have seen courtrooms where people would wear the picture of their loved
one. That's sad.
Who may have been a victim,
to
so
the
in
poor
this case,
kid.
They didn't allow it. But my point just is, it goes to show how they try to prevent, how everything has to get permission, or you could fight everything. They could even, the defense team, the prosecution, they could even fight what goes on in the courtroom. And then it all boils down to the judge to decide how to let these things play out. So I'm not kidding when I say the judge is God in those courtrooms. They run the show. And you really have to pray you get a fair one, because if you don't, they could do a lot of damage. They could do a lot of damage. Now, I always talk about how it's important after trial, during trial, whatever, during investigation, when you're working on cases, you never want to stop searching. You never want to stop looking for things that could help your client, your defendant. You want to check social media. You want to check comments, because it'll give you. Now, I'm not saying it's gospel. I'm not saying you take those comments, oh, it's gospel. But what it does do, and this is very important, what it does do is it opens the door, and it allows for down the road, perhaps you'll have, if you get a retrial or you go into trial, you have subpoena power. You could then start subpoenaing people to find out and get the details of their claims.
Yeah, that's a good point. He just said right there. Wow. Symphony for the cuckold, not symphony for the devil. Symphony for the cuckold.
And I'll give you an example. During our investigation, we came across a few things which are going to be items of interest.
Oh, wow. What's
for
this?
Trial, and items of interest to dive into further, where subpoena power would be used. And I blocked out names. I blocked out things because that's not for public information right now.
See, at least Justice Tech Pros is cool. He won't put people's names in there and shit like that, you know.
Now this is just, I want to make a point. This was on Facebook, and somebody the title, it has to do with John Pennisi, and this individual saying, "I was with this bum in Fishkill Correctional."
Oh, this is a good one right here. Listen to this very closely, PC John.
But I'm going to read what he wrote. I was reading the headline. Now I'll read what he wrote. He wrote, "I was with this bum in Fishkill Correctional Facility. He is a liar. He would make up stories that people were out to get him and sign into prison protective custody."
Big bad gangster PC John. Simple John. You checked into PC? Is this guy telling the truth right here? The guy who wrote this on May 29th at 9 p.m. Simple John? Wow.
Did the very same thing again here. People on the street know what I am saying is true. It is how John Pennisi is. He is a lying snake. Nobody was outside his house waiting to get him.
See?
Imagine that. Just like he imagined the scenarios in prison.
Yep.
These men he lied about. They are full.
He imagined it, or maybe it was a dream. Listen, he had a dream that the Twin Towers were going to come down. Maybe these are dreams? Nah, he's paranoid and insane.
Mostly imprisoned and should be free. So now, what the defense needs
PC,
to do,
Pennisi,
and I'm just giving you a case
that?
to help any defendants that are listening, any defense teams that are listening, families of defendants that are listening. That's why it's very important. Don't minimalize social media. Don't minimalize these outlets. They're very
He means check all this shit. If one of your families is fighting a case right now or something, check all this shit. Check all their social media. Take what they say, because one day, one day these freaking things will come into court. You can subpoena these guys. You can subpoena people with a podcast. All you guys who like platforming these rats, you keep like platforming them. Well, one day, dude, you're going to be subpoenaed in court. And you won't get in trouble or nothing, but you are going to like have to take time out of work. Who wants to go to be subpoenaed to a fucking courtroom? I wouldn't want to. So all people who interview these stories, be careful, man.
Very important to gather data, gather information on people to open up doors. Now, I don't know this person. We don't know this person. But what happens is now you interview this person. If necessary, you subpoena this person. You have them elaborate. And it could be something that could help the case.
He's right. Listen, Tech Pros knows what the fuck he's talking about, this guy. He's fucking right. One of these things, a little slip up. Thinking about all the cases in history that have been solved by one little slip up. Look at that fat pig, the rat cop. He went on Sally Jesse Raphael and forget about it. The mother was watching it, or all little different things in history where people get caught. Seeing the handwriting, something my brother wrote in a handwriting, like Uncle Ted fucking Kaczynski over there.
Something that could open the door. Maybe this individual has a story to tell that you could then ask.
Listen to this. Imagine this. Just listen what he said there. Nobody was outside. It's all this shit, dude. Everybody's lying about Pennisi, that he's a paranoid nut. And I guarantee that's why that guy Tom left, man. Pennisi was probably getting possessive of him and stuff like that. I don't know what happened, but I'm just saying he was probably being like a possessive weirdo. The guy Tom's like, I got to get away from this dude. That's my guess.
So as a witness, there's a lot of doors that could be open from perusing these different sites, these comments. I know it's painstaking. I know it's annoying to even read a lot of comments.
It's got to be tough to do all that.
Put that out of your head. Put your game face on, and realize that there's a bigger picture that must be grasped when you're looking at these things. You can't throw them away as if they're just stupid comments.
I seen the Alpo video. He was all over the place. He was spiraling. He was out of his mind. He made no sense. Yeah, Davy Jones, forget about it. The last train to Clarksville, and I'll meet you at the station. John Pennisi will be deep sipping, but he still keeps thinking about masturbation. Whoa. Johnny is slow. Simple John's always gonna take it slow, but punch girls in the face. Well, that's why I like this. Man, The local police station should know about this guy's past.
The people reach out, get an investigation team to reach out, a private investigator, follow up with these leads. You never know what could break, open a case, and you never know what could help.
You never know what could help you. Yep.
I'll give you another example. This was on a podcaster's, and I blocked them out, but this is on a podcaster's podcast.
Oh, this gets good. Watch this. This is funny.
This was one of the comments that was made. Somebody says, great video, JC. So John Pennisi, a.k.a. Bait, I don't know what that means, is my bio father, and me and my mother will make a video proving the proof.
Oh, wow.
Stay tuned. Bait Jr. wants his father in his life. So now this guy's claiming to be John Pennisi's son, biological son.
Wow.
Again, investigative purposes. Not saying it's true, not saying it's not true.
We don't, to be exactly, we don't know if this is some troll saying this or not, but he's just giving an example.
And what I am saying, for the defense team, investigative
subpoena these people,
track the people down.
Yeah.
If you have to issue subpoenas come time of trial, issue subpoenas.
Because 1 out of 100 chance this is true. This might be true. 1 out of 100. It might be true. Who knows?
Get information out of them. Talk to them. Find out what they have to support this claim. Is it legitimate? Is it somebody who's just nuts? You have to vet these things out. You can't just toss them aside as if they don't mean anything. You want to devote the time to investigate, uncover, and see what's going on. And then you got this this gentleman underneath said, "What the F? Pennisi's your real dad. We were born." And then there was a follow-up to that. The individual then says, me and my mother are making a video soon. We do not want to do it this way, but our hand was forced. At the end of the day, I'm just looking for a father. That's all.
Wow.
Again, it's about credibility. Is this witness somebody who abandoned a biological father? Don't know. Got to find out.
Oh, man. The way you put it that way, that was some funny shit. Oh, man.
Biological son, I'm sorry.
No, it's like I said, this could be a troll, but it could be true. And his whole point is to investigate this shit. Especially when you're fighting for your life.
Abandon a biological son. Again, is it true? Don't know. Got to look into it. But to blow it off is a mistake for the defendant, for the defense, for everybody trying to
don't ignore nothing.
The same way they look to exploit, put media articles.
And remember, if you guys want to watch this whole video without me rambling, it's right in the description down there. I can't drop the link for some reason. But if one of you people can drop JTP's link in here, if you want to listen to this without me rambling. But there's still the best is yet to come, folks. Trust me. The best is yet to come. The simp father displays some sympnacious attitudes.
Pump out media articles, go into forums.
Thanks, Cuban B.
Insert information to try to drum up conversation, to try to get the public to.
And if any of you guys got channels of your own, drop them in there.
Be biased against the defendants. You have to do your part in investigation and in drumming up discussions. Good. I always talk about putting good things out there, putting things on YouTube, episodes like this that I try to do where I just try to give a different way of looking at things. I try to expose certain things. I try to give insight to how the process works. Those are all valuable tools just to.
I wonder if this now, like, all right, me knowing YouTube, most likely this is a troll. But what if he does have some feral child out there running through the wilderness? Or it's a troll, who knows? But you should investigate it, subpoena this bastard, find out if they're just busting balls and they're a nut, or you never know. Maybe you can uncover something.
To make a more informed decision. Now, you're going to have members of the public who just don't care. If they believe somebody's guilty, they're guilty. There's nothing you could do with those individuals. That's life. That's how it goes. Some people are just not reasonable. That's not who I appeal to here. Who I appeal to here are open-minded individuals who may believe something until they're given more information, and they're not too proud to change their opinion. They just go by the data in front of them. the documents
But
in
the
front
best
of them,
is yet to come, Simple John.
information they're learning, and that's who I try to appeal to, because the naive part of me, let's just say, hopes that those are the individuals who make it on a jury. So when they're judging somebody's life, at least I know I played my small, minute part in helping somebody get a fairer trial. And I don't know if that'll ever happen, but hey, if I get one juror who winds up serving, that's a win. That's a win. Somebody wound up serving that benefited from what I'm putting out. I call that a win. It's all worth it to me then. And even with the commenters, I get a lot of great commenters who are open-minded, who they may not agree with everything I say, but that's not even the argument. That's not even the debate. I'm not building people, robots who have to think like me and act like me. That's not why I'm here. I don't care about that. What I do care about is just giving some information, putting out some documented information. I try to support my claims with videos, with documents I can share. Trust me. Again, not to harp on it, but if I could show protective order stuff,
Johnny Cash,
man, I would do a lot of damage to these lying informants. I would really show the people what their character is all about. We're talking some things that the public has no idea. And if they did, forget it. I think their supporters, their diehard supporters, would actually have to question things. But there's no sense talking about it. Can't do anything about it at this point. Maybe one day it will be lifted and I'll be doing a surprise episode. And I'll just title it, The Protective Order Has Been Lifted.
That'd be
Until
nice.
then, I got to use what I could find and what we have done on our own investigative side. That's not under protective order.
And this is all important what he's doing right here. This is not just him like trying to bash John Pennisi. You know, he's trying to get these guys free. You know what I mean? And paint a picture of this guy, because we all know what jurors do. They're human beings. They check YouTube. They Google their names. And when they Google their names, they're not going to see just John on limited substance talking about Mars and stuff like that. They're going to find these videos also. And we have every right, I have every right, anyone else has any right to make anti-informant rat videos, whatever you want to call the people. We have every right to do it. We're not making fun of their children. We're not being degenerates about it. We're just calling them out in their lies. And these people are fucking trying to hunt us down, find out who people are. All dumb shit, strike channels. Pennisi gave me a strike on my channel. You can't strike this though, Simple John.
Now I want to show you something else.
Oh, this is where it gets good, folks.
It goes back to you have to investigate all these different areas. It's very, family members could do it. I understand, it's time consuming, it's costly if you have your defense team do it. But these are things family members could do, supporters could do to try to help out their loved one or somebody they care about. You go on all these different sites, you go on all these different things, you search certain names, search certain people, see what comes up, see what could possibly help you. And during our investigation, this came up, which again, don't know if it's true, not true, but it's something that is going to be worth investigating.
All right, watch this, folks.
Somebody posted on here.
Listen.
John Pennisi exposed, talking to a
All right, listen to this, folks. This is fucking sick. This is on Reddit, right? Now, we don't know if this is true. Who knows? But knowing John and the way he is with women, my guess is I believe this is him, because this is, look, in case, who the fuck would go to the trouble back then making a big John Pennisi account? But you never know. Let's listen.
19-year-old girl. I'm not going to get into the other of it because
it says John Pennisi exposed, talking to a 19-year-old girl from the UK, younger than his daughter. What a weirdo. This guy is sick, having cuckold dreams. And yes, he had a cuckold dream. That's what this says. Don't know if it's true or not. It's a cuckold dream. Not only a cuckold dream, he had a dream that the towers went down.
It's a little crazy.
A night before they went down.
The heading.
So that's how he knows the girl's cheating on him. You'll understand when he reads it.
But you could read it. I'll read you what it says.
SIMPS Mafia, SIMPS.
And again, This is
a
something
good
for
one.
investigative purposes. You see something like this. This is where, when the time comes for trial, during investigation, you go sit down with the people involved, you interview them, you subpoena people involved, you subpoena records, you make sure it's legitimate. If they try to say, oh, I never said that, it's a screenshot, okay, may very well be. You got to subpoena directly from the provider. In this case, it looks like an Instagram private message. And in this, you have this appears to be John Pennisi's account. He's telling some girl,
Listen to
good
this.
morning. You hope you had a good night's rest. It's a little small, so I'm trying to read it. Is everything okay? You're a little different. I noticed you stopped liking anything from me. So I guess he's upset she wasn't liking his post. This girl wasn't liking his post. At first, I thought maybe you were busy with school or life itself, but took notice that you were liking others' posts. So it appears he saw which is a little weird. I mean, it looks like he was
very weird. Stalker alert, stalker alert. Oh my God, Mom. There's somebody looking in the window. Who could it be? It's John Pennisi.
tracking if she was liking other.
Who's that peeping in my window? Pow, it's Pennisi now.
Which is a little weird. I mean, looks like he was tracking if she was liking other posts and not liking his, and that got him banged up, I guess. That's odd. Not that you have to like my posts. You do not have to. I do not recall doing or maybe saying anything to make you act like this. Please, by all means, let me know if I am mistaken. Communication is key. Enjoy the rest of the day, John.
Wow.
That's weird. I don't know.
Communication is key.
I guess he's upset that this girl on Instagram was liking other people's posts and not his. And then somebody posted this on Reddit. Reddit's a site, for those not familiar. You could talk about anything.
Like, who cares if she doesn't like your stuff, dude?
So this was a post on Reddit's site. It's actually gone now, but at the time we grabbed it. It's why it's so important that you have somebody really checking these things daily and pulling them and saving them, because this could come into play on a retrial, on future trials for defendants.
Yep.
Where this informant may be.
Like he says, you can look her up and subpoena this girl to see if she's a troll, just lying, or, well, to see if this account is a fake and it's a troll account, or it's a real account. It kind of looks like it's a real account.
Related to the trial, you're going to want to subpoena these people. You're going to want to see the legitimacy. You're going to want to subpoena, Instagram and get that original message just to make sure it wasn't doctored. You want to make sure it's legitimate.
Yeah, you want to make sure this is legitimate, making this sure this shit ain't doctored, and use it. I know it's cost, like he says, it's costly, it's worth the time, but you never know.
And it appears that the girl, I blocked her name out. It appears that the girl responded to this Reddit post. Excuse me. And she says, John Pennisi is a fake. I had only been speaking to the guy for 2 days back when he sent me the message about his dream. After all, who am I? She put in quotes. What the fuck is that even? So that's her. Sorry to curse. I try not to curse on here, but listen, I gotta read it. So
his dream.
And I'm not a prude. I could curse. This isn't the format for it.
His
Trust me,
dream.
when I get mad or I'm with my friends, I drop some words that are not appropriate.
His dreams.
Definitely no saint, never claimed to be. So let me see, what do we got on here?
Insane
this is
substance.
Now, the second part of that. This was the dream she was talking about.
Here we go.
Again, this was
here we go. Here's Pennisi's cuckold dreams. If you're having dream of cuckoldry, there's a problem. Houston, there's a problem. What's wrong? We've got a simp here.
Reddit, and she posted, or somebody posted, their interaction. John Pennisi apparently, and I say apparently because you would want to subpoena these records to make sure it's legitimate.
Yeah. So apparently,
my point is, this is how you start the investigation phase. You come across things like this, and now you look into them. You dissect them. You try to break them down. See what you have, what could be used, what can't be used. So this starts off. He messages her. I always had the sixth sense where I would dream something about someone and it was so clear, like I was actually there.
Wow.
Many times the
Wow.
dream was close to an actual event. For example, the night before 9/11, I had a dream of rockets hitting Manhattan. And the next day, our buildings, Twin Towers, were hit by the
Wow.
planes. Holy shit. That's some
Wow.
ability. Jesus.
That's some
I envy that ability.
ability.
I wish I had that ability before the lotto comes out. Maybe next time before the lotto
I wish we could get the lottery. Holy shit.
comes out, I could have a dream with all the numbers. That's crazy.
Wow.
The other day, I dreamed that you were having sex with a guy.
Oof.
It was like I was there. I was sitting in a chair watching. The strange thing is I haven't heard from since I had the dream. I guess you meant to say I haven't heard from you. Hope all is well, and if my dream were true, which I get it, if you will not admit nor owe me any explanation. And I get it, if you will not admit nor owe me any explanation.
So he wants this girl to admit sleeping with a guy. This is amazing. This guy's so paranoid. And if you have dreams of cuckoldery and dreams of buildings, what if you dreamed all the stuff you said in the courtroom? What if that happened, if this is true?
After all, who am I? Oh, that's what she meant earlier when she put the who am I in quotes. And then she writes, it was my granddad's birthday yesterday, and I told you that the day before, and I continued to like your pictures, although we didn't, and then it cuts off.
See, the paranoia in Pennisi. Pennisi, Simple John, so paranoid where this girl's just legitimately at her granddad's birthday party. She has no time to talk to her fucking, a guy she's not even dating, just talking to on fucking Instagram or whatever this is. And Pennisi, if this is true, is just like, yeah, I had a dream he was sleeping with someone. I had a dream that he was sleeping with a man, and I was watching, but I loved it. Like, just come on, man. If this is even true, this is sick. And oh man, sick.
But wow, that's pretty crazy. So I guess he's saying he had a dream. Let me try to decipher this. Let me try to break down the psychology of this.
Yeah, break
I
down.
can use some of my psychology skills on the courses I take. Let me see. So the other dream, I dreamed you're having sex with a guy. So I guess he's trying to insinuate to her, like, you, not that you're cheating, because I don't think they're really dating, but maybe she's with somebody else. And if that's the case, tell him, because he has these dreams that tell the truth. And being he dreamed it, that means it's true, and she should come clean. Oof.
Wow.
I got a diagnosis here, but I'm going to keep that to myself. Yeah, I mean, listen.
Wow.
Okay, this is a little out there, but now, regardless of how out there it is, these things could be used.
And they could be true, or they could not be, you know?
You subpoena these people. You subpoena the girl. You find out what took place. You get all the original records. You get that. You try to get that in with the judge. You don't know unless you try.
You subpoena her, and if she's a troll lying, well, then it's a troll lying. But if it's true, shit.
So these are things you have to try to submit when and if the time comes, because they could only help.
He's a psycho, ain't it, man?
They could only help it. Now, the other thing I want to show is just, there's a lot of things in media a lot of the times. You have
Look
to
at Simple John when he was a young man.
You get archived newspaper clippings. Now, the defense has what's called a reverse Rule 16, and that's before trial, whereas you're basically putting in the information you want to submit to use at trial, whether it's articles. It's a lot of the defense's investigative work. They call it a Rule 16, reverse Rule 16. You're going to want to introduce into trial. So you submit a package to the prosecution, and then they decide if they're going to object to anything, and then it could go to a hearing where the judge will decide what they're going to allow in and what they're not going to allow in. Now, these are articles on one of the informants. That was part of a case I was part of that I've been speaking about this episode. This is all related to John Pennisi. And these are just articles. This talks about when he was accused of and then later convicted of committing a murder. And this is when they were looking for the suspect. He was on the lam, which, again, you'd want to introduce. The person has a tendency to flee when something happens. They don't want, they're hiding out, or whatever you want to call it, lambing it, whatever you want to call it. Just things
this should have been allowed in court. This shows that he is he will run.
That, again, could go towards credibility, go towards character that you'd want to find and introduce. And there was several articles on that. This article talks about how the The family got upset that
Wow, look at the. Oh no, that's Yuletide
they
shit. I'm
made bail.
sorry.
The family of a 20-year-old Glendale man shot dead last summer in a dispute over a young woman.
All right, if you don't know what he's talking about, this is Pennisi. What landed Pennisi in the can the first time is, I guess he was dating a girl. Then the girl broke up with him. Started dating some other dude, something like that, and he went and shot the other dude with his buddy and killed the guy.
I've questioned a Queens judge's decision to release his 2 alleged killers on $1 million bail each. So John Pennisi and his co-defendant were released on bail. Talks about how they found him in the Hamptons. He was seized in the Hamptons.
So they were released on bail and they run. If I'm reading
Detectives from the 104th precinct tracked down the alleged killers, John Pennisi, and the other gentleman, the other individual of Howard Beach. According to the investigation, they talk about how the young man Cooper was killed by one shot from a .25 caliber handgun during a fight over an 18-year-old woman who lived in the neighborhood. And it just goes on to talk about that. They found him hiding in the Hamptons somewhere, and the family was upset that they received bail. And then there's another article.
They shouldn't have been received bail. They shouldn't have.
That just talks about when.
And this shit is relevant. This shit should be picked up and put in court. This is relevant.
My point just is with this.
Shows to the character.
You want to do your research. You want to try to find as much information as you can, compile it, put it in a folder, give it to the defense team to help them with the reverse Rule 16. Submit it and see what gets allowed in and what doesn't, what you're allowed to talk about, what you're allowed to ask about. That's why the investigative portion is so critical to trial. These are all things you want to do to prepare for trial. You really want to exhaust all areas of investigative work. And I recommend going on those archive news sites, pull up newspapers, because think about it. The defendants are in every newspaper article prior to trial. If it's a high-profile target, they're in the paper almost every day before trial begins. So you want to try to find things that could help counteract that. You want to try to find headings. And it all goes towards the overall complete strategy that the defense wants to tackle prior to trial. And compiling all these things, putting them together, getting them ready is vital to that. You don't want to be waiting for the last minute to start looking. And I always harp on the second the indictment is handed down is the second the defense team has to start their job, because it doesn't stop. It's constant. Look at all these different formats you have to really navigate and go through and vet out. You have Facebook. I showed you something from Reddit, Instagram. There's so many outlets nowadays, so many avenues. A lot of information could be obtained to help your case. And that's the key. You just want to build a strong case.
All right, you basically shut it down.
Today.
All right, that was good. I'm going to drop his channel in here before I shut this down, because I don't want to go any longer than this. I want people to watch this. It actually went a little too long. Maybe I rambled about Simple John too long. Simple John. But that's, that stuff should be brought in court, honestly. And if that stuff is true, all them screenshots, the people should be subpoenaed. It goes to his character. He's a sicko, man. Who the hell? Imagine if that is true, that he dreamed all that stuff. Jimmy Clinton, me and Boy went to the SIMPS box one day, and we found a G.I. Joe guy, and I wanted the G.I. Joe guy, but Paulie G wanted the G.I. Joe guy. So we just split the G.I. Joe guy in half. That's my best Jimmy Calamandra impression today. But it was a terrible one, actually. John A-Light, I haven't done impressions of, I haven't heard the A-Light's voice in a while. I shot Georgie Grosso. I shot Johnny Cabot. And I also knocked my wife's teeth out. My first wife, Kara, I knocked her teeth out. Yes, I did. And my brother looks like John Merrick.
Thank you all. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. God bless. Take care.